Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And to start off the week, we got some big news for both Xbox and Nintendo. There's a lot happening right now as we got some exciting news to go over today. Xbox Game Pass announced a couple day one releases, and this is actually massive. I don't know how Xbox keeps pulling off these deals, but they got a massive Xbox Game Pass day one release coming very soon. So we're going to talk about all that plus a big update that's going live today. Yeah, Xbox fans have a lot to look forward to right now, but also Nintendo. It looks like Nintendo has some big surprises of their own. I know there's been some questions about their upcoming lineup of games, as they don't really have too much announced for the second half of the year, but it sounds like they have some exciting games coming alongside that Switch Pro. We now have some evidence of both, and in fact, this lineup might be so good that it'll break a new record. Yeah, that's the type of lineup that we're talking about, so we'll go over all of that as well. First though, let's go over some of the quick news, starting off with Balan Wonderworld. So Balan Wonderworld was originally a very promising 3D action platformer developed by the original creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, and it's being published by Square Enix. The combination of the two had a lot of people excited, including myself. I do adore 3D platformers, and with Yuji Naka going back to a platformer like this, it does fill you with a lot of confidence. From its initial trailers, it looked like it really had it all. The talent, the art style, and a publisher that can give it the right kind of marketing. Unfortunately though, a demo went up not too long ago, and it disappointed a large part of the community. The controls were an absolute mess, it's slow, some of the transformations just didn't feel right, and I mean there's an actual transformation in this game that removes jumping. No jumping in a platforming game doesn't really seem to mix all that well, and Balan Wonderworld seems to have several flaws like this that plagues the game. What was originally very promising has quickly turned into a concerning release, but Square Enix seems to have realized this to an extent. They have been listening to fan feedback and are planning to release a day one patch that adjusts control movement, camera movement, and rebalancing the difficulty. And okay, that sounds great and everything, but they also mentioned that unfortunately at the current stage of development, it's not feasible to fix everything that was concerning about the demo. Balan Wonderworld is planned to release on March 26 after all. But that really is the thing. I mean, they could just delay it, but from the sounds of it, Square Enix just wants to ship it as is. It almost seems like they're just willing to accept the criticism and then fix it in the coming months. In my honest opinion, that is not a good idea, as first impressions are incredibly important, but maybe Square Enix just wants to move on. Personally, I think it deserves better than that, but we'll see how the launch works out. Maybe that day one patch does a lot for it, though I'm really not expecting that. This statement didn't exactly inspire a lot of confidence, honestly. Now, we also got an update for the PS5 as we closely monitor those stock situations. It's no secret that it's difficult finding the PS5 in stock, and that's for good reason. These things are flying off shelves in a matter of minutes. This happens every single time they go live, and now it's being reported that the PS5 is actually the second fastest selling console of all time in the United States for its first 4 months, and first place is only selling about 1% faster. That of course would be the PlayStation 4, but I think it's incredible for the PS5 considering the overall stock situation. This thing could have sold so many more units if it wasn't for stock issues. It's no telling what it could have sold if it wasn't so constrained. I know that limited supply has led to a lot of frustration, but we have seen evidence that real consumers are getting their hands on a PlayStation 5. Some retailers have improved how they distribute these consoles, which has helped. I actually like what Newegg did last week with their raffle and limited time frame of purchasing a PS5. I'd like to see more retailers do something like that because there is a combination of extremely high demand, and I know there's still a scalping issue. So it would be nice to make these purchases a little bit more stress-free. You have a product that is in extremely high demand, and the purchasing window for these consoles are so small that it leads to frustration for consumers. Even then though, PlayStation has done an exceptional job at getting a lot of stock out there. It's surprising that they've been able to produce that many units in such a short period of time, considering the unprecedented times that we're in. So big congrats to the PlayStation 5 on becoming the second fastest selling console of all time in the United States. Let's move on to the Xbox news though, as they followed up their busy week from last week with yet another busy Monday. Yeah, we do have a few different things to talk about here. Bethesda was publicly welcomed to the Xbox family last week, and I have to say, Xbox did not hesitate at all in giving Xbox fans something to look forward to. Not only did they reveal 20 different Bethesda games for Xbox Game Pass, but now they're also updating 5 Bethesda games to have FPS boosted mode. This is where they double the frame rate for games that previously were not capable of having a performance increase, or sometimes even quadruple the frame rate. This is an absolute amazing feature that Xbox Series has to offer, and they are doing that for 5 different Bethesda games. So let's check it out. You have Fallout 4, Fallout 76, Skyrim, Prey, and Dishonored Definitive Edition. So these are 5 premium games, and I mean, it's kind of like Skyrim is getting yet another release for the Xbox Series. That game really does go to pretty much every platform in history, but this is an awesome update. The one I would really recommend checking out though is Prey. This is a great game that tends to be a little overlooked at times. It's a very pretty game and everything, but now it's going to have that buttery smooth frame rate. It suddenly just became a must-play on the Xbox Series. I do, again, highly recommend that game. And oh yeah, this update comes out today. Yeah, you can go download them today, which are all available on Xbox Game Pass. What an amazing service. Xbox has been knocking it out of the park with Xbox Game Pass, and their new features like FPS boosted mode for the Xbox Series. It really is just such a good combination that keeps some of these older games viable for the Xbox Series. And speaking of Xbox Game Pass, they had 2 huge reveals today. It was rumored all weekend that Xbox was setting up to reveal the upcoming AAA shooter Outriders for Xbox Game Pass. This is a big Square Enix game, and that would be a huge announcement. Well, that rumor was true, and they were, after all, teasing that exact game. They confirmed this morning that Outriders will launch directly into Xbox Game Pass day 1 on April 1st. And no, this is not an April Fool's joke. This is the real thing, and that is insane. A lot of the times when you see day 1 games come over to Xbox Game Pass, they're sometimes a little smaller or more niche games. In some situations, you get games like Outer Wilds, which launched into Xbox Game Pass and really surprised people, and that was a bit of a smaller game. But then you have some bigger games like Yakuza, which greatly benefited from Xbox Game Pass because that's a series that is not well known on Xbox, and Xbox isn't exactly known for Japanese games. So that's a great way of introducing a franchise like Yakuza to Xbox fans, and it seems to have worked out well. Sega has become a big supporter for Xbox Game Pass, but Square Enix dropping a new AAA shooter into Xbox Game Pass day 1, that's a bit of a surprise. I mean, maybe I shouldn't really be all that surprised because somehow Xbox just keeps pulling off magic with this service, but this is just such a huge release. I mean, I think by this point, Xbox Game Pass has become a must-own subscription. It just has. They continuously improve it with their first-party output, but they consistently get day 1 releases to save you money, and with Outriders, that saves $60 right away. And this is what I absolutely love about Xbox Game Pass. It's always nice to get these well-known games such as The Witcher 3 or Red Dead Redemption 2. Those games came to Xbox Game Pass in the past, and I like that because it introduces new players to these games, but for me who already played those games prior, that's not why I subscribe. I subscribe for games that I wouldn't have played otherwise in day 1 releases, and Outriders is both. I think I would have skipped out on this before, but now I'm definitely going to try it out, and that's why publishers like Square Enix launches their games into Xbox Game Pass. It helps them get more recognition, and if this works well, this could be a big step for further Square Enix Game Pass partnerships. Now that was not the only day 1 Game Pass announcement though. Undertale will also launch day 1 into Game Pass tomorrow on March 16th. That is a very beloved independent RPG. It's been available on PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo for a while, and has one of the most loyal fan bases I've seen to date. Well, now that fan base may expand just a little more with it coming to Xbox Game Pass. This is a good game though. It's got a good sense of humor, and it has a similar art style to the Mother series from Nintendo, otherwise known as Earthbound if you've played that specific game. Definitely check out Undertale though, it's really good. As I said earlier though, we also have some big Nintendo news, and this is coming from a few different sources, one from Bloomberg and the other from a YouTuber by the name of Doctray81. Now we'll talk about the Bloomberg report first, as they are reporting that Nintendo is gearing up for a record-breaking fiscal year where they sell a massive 250 million units of software. Keep in mind this is not the calendar year, as their fiscal year ends I believe in March 2022, but that is insane if this actually happens, which is 45 million more than the current year's forecast of 205 million. And that right there's the thing. What would make this 250 million number even possible? Well, Bloomberg notes that it will be driven by a series of marquee game releases, and Nintendo also plans for a revised Switch in the latter half of the year. Now, we'll talk about that revised Switch here in just a moment, but these new marquee releases is something new. Nintendo has had a great year starting off 2021 with a few notable releases. They had Mario Bowser's Fury, Bravely Default 2, Crash 4 just came out, and then Monster Hunter Rise comes later this month. Rise is actually rumored to have 1.5 million units shipped to Japan alone at launch. Yeah, that's going to be a massive release, and then they have new Pokemon Snap in April. Yeah, the Switch has had a good lineup of games so far, but the second half of the year is a bit of a mystery still. Right now, we only know about Skyward Sword HD, and then Pokemon Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. Of course, you also have Pokemon Arceus Legends planned for early 2022, and that could be another massive release. What else could they release during this fiscal year, though, to achieve a number like this? Well, I think Breath of the Wild 2 is an easy game to slot here. Breath of the Wild pushed 20 million units, so there is high expectations for the sequel, and especially if you pair it with the Switch Pro. That could be a great 1-2 punch, similar to the original release launching side by side with the Switch in 2017. There's also rumors of more Zelda games. Twilight Princess HD and Wind Waker HD are reportedly happening this year, and those should do well. There's also some speculation of a new Mario Kart or Mario Party, and even a new 2D Metroid. The Mario game seems to be driven mostly by speculation, so I need to kind of hear more about those before believing that, but a 2D Metroid would be pretty cool. These of course are just rumors, but it does sound like a good lineup of games if these were to happen. Metroid's 35th anniversary is this year, so I'm still holding hope for that game. And let's not forget about Bayonetta 3 that just kind of up and vanished. Maybe we finally get something on Bayonetta 3 in 2021. The two big sellers, though, that does have a high chance of releasing this fiscal year would definitely be Breath of the Wild 2, and then also you have the Pokemon games, including Arceus Legends. Now, as for the Switch Pro, there's been a lot of rumors about a Nintendo-Samsung partnership to include an OLED screen for a quote-unquote Switch Pro, and now we have more evidence that this could be an actual thing. This was spotted by a YouTuber by the name of Dr.81, and apparently in January, Samsung had this to say. Moving forward, we intend to aggressively position Samsung OLED technology across promising market sectors that take us well beyond smartphones, including the laptop and notebook IT, automotive, and gaming console segments. And right away, what makes this statement so interesting is the mention of console segments, especially considering all the Switch Pro rumors. Now, console segments doesn't necessarily mean it is linked to the Switch, but because of those rumors were already around about Samsung partnering up with the Switch, this just kind of adds more smoke to the fire. And even at that, all the devices that they mentioned were portable machines. So it's easy to assume that whatever console they're talking about would be portable as well. So yeah, this is just another suggestion that a Switch Pro does indeed exist, and it's coming very soon. As usual though, proceed with caution until confirmed. If you were to ask me though, I am leaning towards this actually happening sometime in 2021. On to the poll of the day though. I asked you all, will Xbox announce another major Xbox Game Pass partnership in 2021? Last year they did bring EA Play to Xbox Game Pass, and there has been a rumor that they're looking to do something else of this caliber in the 2021 calendar year. So I thought it'd be interesting to see what kind of expectations you, the community, have, and you all seem pretty optimistic about this one. 83% of you expect a major partnership, with several of you mentioning Ubisoft Plus coming to Xbox Game Pass. And that would be an absolutely huge inclusion. I would love to see that personally, but I think that's how good Xbox Game Pass has become. It's so good now that you come to expect big partnerships like this. I think if this were 2 years ago, almost nobody would believe something like this, but here we are, and you all seem confident that this will happen. And truthfully, I would not be surprised at all if this were to happen. Xbox seems all in on Xbox Game Pass, and they're always looking to make it even better, as shown today with some of their day one releases. Anyways though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.